What's the smartest way you've tested your daughter's boyfriend? I've never been the stereotypical overprotective dad cleaning his shotgun when a boy comes to pick up my daughter. That always seemed ridiculous to me. But that doesn't mean I don't have my methods. When Lily brought home her first serious boyfriend at 16, my wife Marie gave me that look. The one that said, "Be nice, but not too nice." We discussed our approach beforehand. "Dad, this is Jason," Lily said, her eyes bright with that mixture of pride and nervousness. "He's in my AP physics class." Jason was tall, well-dressed, and had a firm handshake. Points for that. But first impressions are just that. First impressions. "Nice to meet you, sir," he said. "You too, Jason. I hear you're quite the physicist." "I do all right," he said with a modest shrug. Another point. Dinner was pleasant enough. I asked about school, his family, his interests. Standard dad interrogation, but delivered conversationally. Marie kicked me under the table only once when I asked about his college plans. The real test began after dinner. "Jason, would you mind helping me with the dishes?" Marie and Lily exchanged glances. This wasn't part of the script. "Sure, no problem," he said, already gathering plates. In the kitchen, I handed him a towel. "I'll wash you dry." Works for me. As we worked, I deliberately dropped a fork that splashed soapy water on his shirt. "Oh, sorry about that," I said. "No worries," he replied, wiping at the spot without complaint. Next test. I handed him a glass that was still clearly dirty on one side. "All clean?" I asked. He examined it, then quietly said, "I think this one needs another pass," and handed it back. Interesting. Not afraid to speak up, but respectful about it. Then came the big one. I started talking about Lily. She's always been fiercely independent. Drove her mother crazy when she was little, insisting on dressing herself. Ended up at preschool in some interesting outfits. Jason laughed. "That sounds like her. She knows exactly what she wants." "And what do you think she wants now?" I asked, my tone deliberately ambiguous. He paused, considering. "I think she wants what most of us want, to be taken seriously, to be respected for her mind, to figure out her future." He glanced towards the dining room, and maybe to have her dad not judge her boyfriend too harshly. I couldn't help but smile. When we rejoined, the others, Lily looked between us nervously. "Everything okay?" "Just fine," I said. Later that night, after Jason had left, Lily cornered me in the hallway. "Dad, what did you say to him?" "We just talked." "About what?" "About you, mostly." She groaned. "Dad?" He paused. "If that's what you're wondering." Her eyes narrowed. "Past what?" "The dishwashing test." "The what?" Marie appeared in the doorway, arms crossed. "Robert, you didn't." I shrugged. It tells you a lot about a person, how they handle mundane tasks, unexpected situations, and whether they'll speak up when something's not right. Lily stared at me for a long moment before breaking into laughter. "You're so weird, Dad." 6 years later, when Jason asked for my blessing before proposing to Lily, I reminded him of that night. "I knew what you were doing," he admitted. "My dad pulled something similar with my sister's boyfriend. And you still played along. Sir, I loved your daughter. A few dishes seemed a small price to pay. They've been married 3 years now." Sometimes when I visit, I notice Jason still dries the dishes while Lily washes, and neither of them ever misses a spot. I've never been the stereotypical overprotective dad, cleaning his shotgun every time a boy comes to pick up my daughter. That always seemed ridiculous to me. But that doesn't mean I don't have my own methods. When Lily brought home her first serious boyfriend at 16, my wife Marie gave me that look, the one that said, "Be nice, but not too nice." We'd discussed our approach beforehand. "Dad, this is Jason," Lily said, eyes bright with a mix of pride and nervousness. "He's in my AP physics class." Jason was tall, well-dressed, and had a firm handshake. Points for that. First impressions are just that. Impressions. "Nice to meet you, sir," he said. "You too, Jason. I hear you're quite the physicist." "I do all right." he said with modest shrug. Another point. Dinner was pleasant. I asked about school. Family and interests. Standard dad interrogation, but conversational. Marie kicked me under the table once when I asked about his college plans. But the real test began after dinner. Jason, would you mind helping me with the dishes? Marie and Lily exchanged glances. It wasn't part of the script. Sure. No. Problem, he said, already gathering plates. In the kitchen, I handed him a towel. I'll wash. You dry. He nodded. As we worked, I deliberately dropped a fork that splashed soapy water on his shirt. Oh, sorry about that, I said. No worries, he answered, wiping at the spot without complaint. Next test. I handed him a glass that was still clearly dirty on one side. All clean? I asked. He examined it carefully, then quietly said, I think this one needs another pass, handing it back. Interesting. Not afraid to speak up, but respectful. Then came the big one. Started talking about Lily. She's always been fiercely independent. Drove her mom crazy insisting on dressing herself. Ended up in some interesting preschool outfits. Jason laughed. That sounds like her. She knows exactly what she wants. And what do you think she wants now? I asked deliberately. Ambiguous. He paused, considering. I think she wants what most of us want, to be taken seriously, respected for her mind, to figure out her future. He glanced toward the dining room, adding with a smile, maybe to have her dad not judge her boyfriend too harshly. I couldn't help but smile. When we rejoined the others, Lily looked between us nervously. Everything okay? Just fine, I said. Later, after Jason left, Lily cornered me. Dad, what did you say to him? We just talked. About what? About you, mostly. She groaned. Dad, he passed. If that's what you're wondering. Her eyes narrowed. Past what? The dishwashing test. The what? Marie appeared in the doorway, arms crossed. Robert, you didn't. I shrugged. It tells you a lot about a person. How they handle mundane tasks, unexpected situations, how they speak up when something's wrong. Lily stared, then laughed. You're so weird, Dad. 6 years later, when Jason asked for my blessing before proposing, I reminded him of that night. I knew what you were doing, he admitted. My dad pulled something similar with my sister's boyfriend, I said. And you still played along? Sir, I loved your daughter. A few dishes seemed a small price. They've been married 3 years now. Sometimes when I visit, Jason still dries the dishes while Lily washes, and neither of them ever misses a spot. Story. At the reunion, my brother said, to the guy who always arrives late, empty-handed, and still wants a seat at the table. Everyone laughed a little too loudly. I raised mine and said, to the guy who just paid off the mortgage you thought was yours. The silence was deafening. And then at the reunion, my brother raised his glass and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, to the guy who always arrives late, empty-handed, and still wants a seat at the table. Laughter rippled through the group, sharper than it should have been. Someone clapped. My cousin choked on her mimosa. Even Mom laughed like she didn't notice how red my ears turned. I raised my own glass, plastic half filled with store brand soda, and said to the guy who just paid off the mortgage you thought was yours. The silence hit like a dropped plate. My brother's grin stuttered and fell. Mom blinked like she hadn't heard me right. Dad stopped chewing mid-bite. For once, the only sound was the wind brushing past the tent and the faint hum of someone's forgotten Bluetooth speaker. I sipped from my cup, nodded, and added, "You're welcome." That's when I knew I should have skipped the reunion. The picnic table was full, but no one looked at me. My sister turned back to the potato salad like it held state secrets. My uncle cleared his throat and muttered something about football. The same people who texted me last week, asking if I could spot them just this once, now couldn't meet my eye. Typical. Earlier that morning, I had swung by a gas station to grab chips and a six-pack. Nothing fancy, just something to say. I didn't show up empty-handed. I wasn't trying to impress anyone. When I arrived, I saw my brother unloading catered trays from the back of his leased SUV. My sister-in-law was already arranging them like she was shooting a segment for daytime TV. Linen napkins, folded place cards, a balloon arch. I placed my grocery bag next to a mountain of hors d'oeuvres. It looked ridiculous, but that's always been my role. The quiet one, the late one, he's just like that one. The guy who pays but never gets thanked. Who gets mocked and still shows up? Not anymore. They laughed like I was the punchline, but I'd been footing the bill for years. My brother, the same one who made that joke, lives in a house I helped him buy. Not legally. No one bothered with paperwork. Just endless. I'll pay you back, man. Text that slowly turned into radio silence. At some point, they stopped pretending I'd get repaid. I stopped pretending I believed them. I co-signed the loan when his credit was too shot for approval. That was 4 years ago. Since then, I've made 41 mortgage payments. He made 3, the first 3. My parents retired early, or at least that's what they told everyone. What they really meant was, we'll retire and you'll keep the lights on. I paid the electric, the gas, the groceries, all while they told their friends they were living off wise investments and dignity. My mom calls it family support. I call it subsidized disrespect. Even my little sister who posts motivational. No, her face didn't move, but her eyes did. Sharp, defensive, calculating. It's not about the money, she said. It's always been about the money, I replied. You just hated that I pointed it out. My dad tried to shift gears. We're trying, okay, but we're not young anymore. We can't just start over. Then downsize, I said. Move. Get a roommate. Sell the house. Do what people do when they don't have backup. He flinched. We built this life. He said, no, I corrected. You borrowed it. I built it. Silence again. Then I said something that changed everything. I'm hosting a picnic. 1 month from now, just us. No cousins, no neighbors, no plus ones. I'll bring something to the table, but it won't be money. They didn't ask questions. They knew me well enough to be scared. The next day, I started making calls, not to loan officers or accountants, to hiring managers. I reached out to my old college roommate who now managed logistics for a warehouse chain. Asked if he needed someone dependable. He said, always. I called an old friend who ran a community clinic. Asked if they still needed admin help. She said, desperately. I talked to a woman I met through a charity auction who coordinated events for a food bank. She was looking for reliable prep staff. I told her I had a name. Within 2 weeks, I had job offers lined up, real jobs, nothing glamorous, nothing viral, but stable, decent, honest. Then I printed them, one for each person. Picnic day came faster than expected. I brought a folding table, sandwiches, a water cooler, and a stack of envelopes. My parents showed up dressed for damage control. My dad wore a collared shirt that hadn't been ironed. My mom wore fake pearls and fake calm. My sister showed up in sunglasses in silence. No one brought food. Of course, we sat. They waited for me to apologize, or to soften, or to say something nostalgic. I didn't. I pulled out the folders and passed them around. What's this? My sister asked, flipping through hers like it was a prank. Options, I said. Jobs, not cash. She blinked. You're kidding. No, I said. She stared at me. You expect me to work at a clinic answering phones? Yes, she scoffed. You're punishing me. No, I said again. Calm stone. I'm offering help, just not the kind that bankrupts me. My mom opened hers. She looked at the listing, then at me. This is food prep, she said. You used to volunteer doing exactly that. I said, you were good at it. She said, nothing. My dad looked at his sheet. It was a position for warehouse inventory, flexible hours, decent pay, physically demanding. He exhaled through his nose. You're serious completely. Then came the Hawaii explosion. This is humiliating, my sister snapped. You think you can just fix us with job ads? No, I said. I think you can fix yourselves with them. Or don't, but don't ask me to drown so you can float. My mom tried a softer approach. We're not built for this kind of work anymore. Then live within your means, I replied. Or ask someone else to carry you. Oh, wait. There is no one else is there. My dad stood up like he was going to say something profound. Then he didn't. They packed up. My sister left her folder on the table. My mom dropped hers in the trash. My dad shoved his in his jacket. They didn't hug me. They didn't say goodbye. And that was the best part. No more pretending. I sat at the table for a while after they left. Just me, some untouched sandwiches, and 3 chairs that would stay empty by choice. But I felt full. For the first time, I wasn't the one being discarded. I was the one doing the choosing, and I chose self-respect. They wanted help. I gave it. But help doesn't always come with a deposit. Sometimes it comes with a mirror. 3 days passed. Then the clinic called. Just wanted to thank you for referring Madison. The woman said she interviewed Monday. Started today. So far, so good. I stared at my phone. Madison, my sister, took the job. No drama, no announcement, no Instagram story about new chapters or healing energy. Just work. That's when I realized something had shifted. She didn't do it for me. She did it because she had no choice. And that made it real. I didn't reach out. I didn't congratulate her. I just waited. For days later, a text came through. Started work. It's fine. Don't get used to me thanking you. But also, I'm not quitting. So there. No hearts, no emojis. Just fact, blunt, honest, perfect. Then came the next move. My dad, he called and asked if the warehouse job was still open. Said he'd been thinking. His voice had none of the performance I was used to, just fatigue. I gave him the number again. He didn't thank me. But 2 weeks later, my cousin texted me. Uncle Joe's working now. He actually clocked in today at 7:00 a.m. What did you do? Nothing. I just stopped saving him. He saved himself. Even my mom, who once said her hands were too old for kitchen work, took the food prep position quietly. She clocked hours under a different last name. Not to hide from strangers, to hide from shame. She didn't tell anyone. But I knew because one day she sent me a flyer for a Sunday food drive. No message, no ask, just the flyer. Like she wanted to show me something without showing it. And that silence that was louder than any apology. The group chat stayed dead. No new jokes, no funny memes, no chain messages about how family is everything. Because now they were busy. Busy working, busy adjusting, busy surviving without the one person they swore couldn't let go. They had finally been forced to stand. And even though they stumbled, they stood. For the first time in my life, I wasn't angry. I wasn't bitter. I was just still. I came home from work, made myself dinner, watched documentaries I've been putting off for years. I slept through the night without dreaming of missed payments or disappointed sighs. And slowly signs began to appear. My sister posted a photo of her clinic ID badge. No caption, just the image. A public restroom mirror, fluorescent lights, her hand holding it up like proof. My dad sent a single line. Got forklift certified today. My back's not thrilled, but it's honest work. And my mom, she emailed, not texted, emailed, 2 sentences, no subject line. I didn't realize how much we relied on you until we had to rely on ourselves. We're trying. No theatrics, no emotional blackmail, just truth. And that's when I knew the shift wasn't just in them. It was in me. I didn't need them to validate me anymore. I didn't need them to be proud or to say sorry or to pretend to change, because this time they did change. Not for me, for themselves and me. For the first time, I didn't feel like someone's crutch. I felt like myself. A month later, I sent one message to the family group chat. Hosting another picnic, same spot. Saturday at noon. Come if you want. No frills, no emojis, no bait. No one replied, but they came. My sister arrived first. She was still in scrubs, hair pulled back, shoes scuffed from the clinic floor. She looked tired. Not exhausted tired, but earned it tired. The kind that comes from finally carrying your own weight. Then my dad showed up. Khakis, plain polo, sunburned forearms. He looked smaller than I remembered. Or maybe I had just finally stopped shrinking myself to fit around him. Last was my mom. No jewelry, no loud jacket, just a windbreaker, old sneakers, and silence. We sat at the same table as last time. No arch, no curated photos, no tension. I didn't wait for someone to speak first. I didn't smile. I didn't joke. I laid it down like truth. I'm not paying your bills again. No one flinched. I'm not here to rescue. I'm not here to bleed, so no one else has to sweat. Still silence, but it was different this time. I love you. That hasn't changed. But love without boundaries isn't love. It's sacrifice. And I'm done bleeding. They didn't argue. They didn't bargain because now they knew. My dad nodded once, slow and firm, like the gears in his head had finally stopped grinding against denial. My sister picked at the edge of her paper napkin, but didn't speak. She didn't need to. My mom, who once led every room like a general with pearls and casserole, just sat back and said, "We know." Not dramatic, not defensive, just acknowledgement. And right then, for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like the broken one at the table. I felt like the adult. We shared sandwiches. No one fought over the last soda. No one made dicks. We talked about mundane things. Traffic, weather, a neighbor's annoying dog. Nothing important. And yet somehow, the most important conversation we'd ever had because it was real. At the end, they helped clean up. My dad folded the table. My mom gathered the trash. My sister tied the bag and said, "I'll walk this to the bin." She didn't ask for gas money. I didn't offer. As they left, I stood there alone. Same as last time. But this time, I wasn't abandoned. I was free. And not just from the money or the weight or the manipulation. Free from the version of me that believed I had to earn love through suffering. They changed. But not because I begged them to. Because I stopped saving them long enough for them to realize they had to swim. And the most transformational moment quotes about building your empire. Lives rentrée in a condo I bought during the pandemic. She calls it manifesting stability. I call it squatting with Wi-Fi. No one ever said thank you. They said things like, "You're just better with money." "You don't have kids, so it makes sense. You're single. You wouldn't understand." They made it sound like generosity was a personality flaw I needed to fix, like I owed them for existing while unmarried. At first, I went along with it. It was easier than arguing. Every month, I sent the money. Every holiday, I showed up with bags of food no one touched. Every group chat, I watched them ignore my messages until it was rent week. But deep down, I kept hoping that if I gave enough, helped enough, they'd see me differently. They didn't. Instead, they sharpened the jokes. I became the one who worked too much, took life too seriously, and couldn't. Take a joke. They called me uptight while cashing my transfers. My brother once made a crack about me being the bank with no customer service. I laughed then, not anymore. Because here's the truth. I wasn't quiet because I didn't notice. I was quiet because I was measuring every jab, every eye roll, every time. They made me feel small for showing up tired, for not dressing right, for not having a family of my own. I was tracking it all. And the irony, they thought they were above me because they needed me. That's the delusion dependency creates. The more I gave, the more invisible I became. They built a whole ecosystem on my silence. My parents didn't downsize because I was their safety net. My brother didn't budget because I covered the shortfalls. My sister kept shopping because she assumed I'd swoop in before the credit card bill hit. It was a game of chicken I never agreed to play. I remember one night I called my dad to say I'd be late on the next payment. Just 1 week, I had a medical bill. Nothing major, just a checkup that came out higher than expected. He sighed and said, I guess we'll have to figure something out then. Like my health was an inconvenience. That's when I realized I wasn't a son anymore. I was a wallet with Wi-Fi, a ghost who paid the rent. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The most brutal part, they convinced me I was lucky. At least you're in a position to help. My mom once said, like I hadn't worked every weekend for 5 years. Like I hadn't skipped vacations, dinners, even dates because someone needed a short-term loan. They needed me, but they never respected me. And I had enabled every inch of it, not with kindness, but with fear. Fear that if I stopped giving, I'd lose them, that they'd leave me completely. But then one day, I looked around and realized they were never really with me. They were just orbiting my usefulness. That's when the guilt started to rot, and the rot turned into rage. I didn't shout. I didn't slam doors. I just stopped replying to, "Hey, quick question texts." I let Venmo requests expire. I stopped reminding them when bills were due. And I watched. My brother started calling me cold. My sister said I was going through something. My mom blamed my mood swings. No one asked if I was okay, only why the money stopped. It was almost poetic. The moment I stopped paying, I became the villain. But here's the twist they didn't see coming. I was done apologizing for their dependence. I didn't know them my exhaustion. I didn't know them my credit score. I didn't know them my silence. So at that picnic, when my brother raised his glass and tried to embarrass me in front of a crowd, I didn't flinch. I stood my ground to the guy who just paid off the mortgage you thought was yours. And the look on his face, the sudden math he had to do in his head, was better than applause. Because for once, they were the ones caught off guard. For once, I was the one rewriting the script. The text came 3 days after the reunion. "Hey bro, can you send the usual for the house? We're cutting it close this month. No greeting, no comment about the toast, no acknowledgement that I just lit their little fantasy on fire and walked away." I stared at the message. Then I closed my phone. I didn't answer that day or the next. It was a strange new sensation. Silence. Not guilt, not anxiety, just silence. I spent that weekend walking, cooking, reading. It felt like I was living inside someone else's life, one that wasn't haunted by the ticking clock of other people's bills. Then on Monday, a follow-up pinged in. Just checking again. Need to make the payment by Wednesday. Let me know. Still nothing about the picnic. Still pretending like nothing had changed. So I answered, no. The typing bubble popped up instantly. What do you mean no? Then wait, are you serious? And finally, you can't just stop. That's not fair. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I let it hang. Later that night, my sister called. I didn't pick up. She left a voicemail, something about being behind, about how Ethan's trying and I'm really stressed right now. I listened to the whole thing, then deleted it. The next morning, my mom texted, "Can we talk? I'm worried. This isn't like you." That part made me laugh because this was exactly like me, the me they'd never bothered to see. I texted back, "I'm done people who treat me like a joke." 10 seconds later, the phone rang. "Mom," I picked up. "Excuse me," she said, as if she couldn't possibly have read that right. "You heard me," I said. Calm, flat, measured. "I'm done." There was silence. Then she tried to pivot. "We're family. Families help each other. That's always been our way." "No," I said. "That's always been my way. Everyone else just took. She didn't like that." The tone shifted. She said I was ungrateful, that I was trying to punish everyone, that I was being emotional. Actually, I said I've never been clearer. Then I hung up. What minutes later, my dad called. I didn't want to answer, but I did because I knew exactly what he'd say. "So, you're really cutting everyone off?" He asked like this was a practical joke gone too far. "Yes." He gave that tired sigh, the one he used when the car broke down or the TV remote went missing. "You can't just leave us like this." He said, "I didn't leave," I replied. "I stayed longer than I should have. You just stopped noticing." "What about the mortgage?" he asked. "It's due in 5 days. I'm not paying it." There was a long pause. Then he laughed. A dry, uncomfortable kind of laugh. "You're bluffing." "I'm not." "You always say stuff like this." "No, I don't." "This is new." Then I said it. The one thing that really cracked the illusion. "You mocked me. I paid your mortgage. That ends now." Silence. I could almost hear the floor creaking. Beneath his sense of entitlement, he hung up without a word. And that was the moment the actual break. The fantasy shattered. The ATM stopped working. The default donor walked off the stage. Over the next few days, the group chat went quiet. The same group that used to light up every time someone needed a favor or a ride or a last-minute loan was suddenly dormant. They didn't know how to function without me. Then the guilt campaign began. My sister texted, "I'm literally crying right now. I can't believe you're doing this to your own family." My mom sent a voice note. I didn't open it. My brother, the one who toasted to my failures, texted just one word. "Seriously?" I didn't reply. Then came the escalation. "I might have. To break my lease," my sister said. "We'll have to move back in with Mom and Dad." "Is that what you want?" "Yes," I texted back. "Exactly." She didn't answer after that. But the next day, I heard from my dad again. His tone was different this time. Not angry, desperate. "What happened to you?" he asked. "You used to be reliable." "No," I said. "I used to be scared." He went quiet. "Scared of what?" "Of losing you," I said. "But I can't lose people who only show up when they need something." He hung up again. A week later, my sister posted a photo on Instagram. Caption: "Back where it all began." It was a shot of her childhood bedroom. Same posters, same bedspread, same pretend smile. Ethan wasn't in the picture. I didn't comment. Then Mom called this time unfiltered. "I hope you're happy," she said. "She's miserable. We're all miserable." "I'm peaceful." I said another hang-up. That month I paid only one bill, my own. And for the first time in years, I slept without checking my bank app every night. But the real moment, the final cut, came 2 weeks later. My dad called one last time. I answered. "We're not going to make the payment." He said, "I know. There's a letter from the bank." I figured. "So that's it. You're just going to watch us lose. Everything." "No," I said, "I already watched you lose me. This part's just paperwork." He didn't yell. He didn't cry. He just breathed heavy into the phone, like maybe he was aging all at once. Then he whispered, "You really mean it." "I do." I hung up. He didn't call back. And that was the moment I crossed the line I had drawn for myself for years. The line between being useful and being used. I didn't burn the bridge. I just stopped holding it up. I didn't hear from anyone for almost a month. The silence was glorious. No texts, no calls, no emails wrapped in guilt or emojis. It was like the whole family retreated into a bunker, trying to figure out how to survive without the human piggy bank. Then my mom called. "Dinner," she said. "Just dinner. No expectations." I said yes, not because I believed her. I didn't. But I wanted to see it, to look them in the eye and measure how far the collapse had reached. They tried to make the house look normal. Clean table, reheated pasta, a bottle of wine that probably came from the discount shelf. My dad looked tired in a way he didn't try to hide. My mom wore makeup but forgot to blend it properly. My sister didn't come down. We ate quietly like strangers pretending to be family. Then my mom leaned in. "We're in a tough spot right now," she said carefully. "Just for a little while. If you could help again." I didn't let her finish.